All right, I know I said I wasn't going to talk anymore about closing out our second round of funding for Iconic Motorbikes, our stock offering that we're handling right now. But the fact of the matter is the response has been, I don't know, without a better word, phenomenal. We've had 50 some odd requests for responses in the last probably 48 hours, maybe more now, probably 70, and 40 different requests for DocuSigns. So it's basically, hey, you reach out to us, we tell you what we're doing, and then we send you a DocuSign, and then we fund and so on. We've already funded over $500,000. So just today alone, we had $150,000 in deposits. So I can't even thank you enough. It's fantastic. It's going to really help us get to these new measures. It's going to help us do all these great things. I've told you before what we're going to do with it. I'll put a longer video on our investor page afterwards, kind of walking you through all the different things that Iconic has built thus far and what to look forward to. But for this video, only because I can't respond to the many text messages and calls one by one, I want to answer just a few questions. First off, there's been some concern about my sleep habits and how much I take on. Listen, don't worry yourself with that. I had 12 years of logistics before I started this, and I'm talking LTL logistics. If you're in LTL logistics, you know this. You work an ungodly amount of hours. If I didn't work 60, 70 hours a week for pretty much from 20 to, gosh, I don't know, 30 some odd years old, it's probably an understatement. I've never needed a lot of sleep. I'm a very hyperactive guy, as I'm sure you picked up on, and I love a challenge. So I was used to the hours already. That career led me into the toy industry, which is what I did before this. At that, I left as EVP of operations. I pretty much ran the operation from soup to nuts. We did have a CEO and COO, but most of that fell on me. During that time, despite running everything here with 900 employees between here and Asia, we had a hostile takeover issue. And how we ended up dealing with that is a gentleman by the name of Dr. Patrick Soon came in, and Patrick basically said, hey, I'll save you from this hostile, I'll help you with this hostile takeover, but you need to help me with my 16 different entities. And so what we worked out was I was under contract for him for 6 months, and I let a CFO go. I let a lot of other accounting people go. I took over operations with my staff or my support staff. We took over IT. We built this beautiful online SG&A calculator that was pretty much dynamic for every one of his divisions. It was beautiful, beautiful thing. At the same time, I got him a CO for his building in Culver City that him and his wife designed with the cool curved glass. We helped do the whole thing with the Lakers, making some products for Kobe Bryant, which fortunately has passed since, and so much more. So my point is, I did both those things at the same time, and so I helped run a $1 billion corporation, and worked for, I think at the time he was worth 12 or 13 billion, without issue. So, I don't really want to do that again. I want a little bit of a quality of life. So here I am doing something that I love to do, which is Iconic. So anyway, that was question number one. Don't worry about me. I'm not burning out. I'm not going anywhere. All those posts that you see on social media, most of that's me. It's because I can't sleep at night. I need something to do. So don't worry about it. Moving on, I want to explain really quick what a private stock offering is. It's a long story. I'm going to keep it as short as possible. A private stock offering is not like a NASDAQ listed stock. You cannot just buy and sell shares in Iconic Motorbikes. You can't buy today and sell tomorrow for a profit. It doesn't work that way. It's much more like a startup type scenario or a crowdfunding thing where you put money into this brand because you believe in it. You love it. You believe in Abby and I. You believe in what we're doing. You believe in what we're building. And most importantly, you want to see it grow. These funds will go to building the brand. Round one went to building this container structure. The ROI on that container structure, based off $3 or so a foot, is only a year and a half. And the beauty is that container structure moves with Iconic. It's an asset that stays on the books as F&E. So, your money is not just going to fluff. It's not just going to Elon flying his private plane or some crazy thing like that. So much of the things that we do here at Iconic is simply that. We're building a structure. I use the analogy a lot of a railroad. In order to build a railroad and make money out of a railroad, you got to blow up a lot of mountains. You got to lay a lot of track before you see your first check. That is why Iconic has not been profitable to date, but it will be. Our main focus for 2024 is to keep our costs in line with last year and add on all these new parts of revenue. And I'll get back to that in a second. So back to the private stock offering. So essentially what that means is you get shares in the company. You get a share certificate. It's neat, piece of paper, I get it. Somebody asked me yesterday, they said, hey, so you're telling me that I could put money in and I could die and just all I have is a certificate? Yes, you could. After talking to him on the phone and a couple emails, he goes, hey, sign me up for $8,000. So clearly the story is, not the story, but the scenario is solid, but you need to understand what it means. You are investing in a company, and if we take a private equity on, we take a venture capitalist on, we take a major investor on, or God forbid we sell it or we merge with someone else, as a shareholder, you get paid out. You typically will see something higher than you put in, and in some cases with a startup like this, you could see a rather large return. A multiplier that's much further than, say, any of the stocks that you follow. I was looking at my phone, but Riff's holding it. I do a lot of trading. I spend a lot of my time watching what other CEOs do. I'm a huge fan of Templeton. I just love that guy that runs Texas Instruments. It's one of the reasons why a lot of my personal portfolio is with Texas Instruments. I know it seems strange, but love those guys. It's fantastic. I use him as a little bit of a role model. I made quite a bit of money day trading Tesla back in the day. Quite a bit of money doing Apple. I just finally exited my position on that recently to help fund this, and so on. So that's kind of what it is. You just need to be able to lock the money down, know it's going to be there. It's in a safe spot. You can watch our social, see what we're doing with it. It's not going to go for paying for some, like I said, private jet or anything else like that. So it's going to go to building this brand and starting our new divisions. Let me see, what was the other question? Another question is, who's running the books? Who's our CFO? I am CEO and I am CFO. The reason for that is, for one, we've got to keep our salaries at bay. We don't want crazy overhead. For two, I've just seen it too many times in my life. At Jack's, we had 18 different acquisitions in the toy business. We bought Cabbage Patch and Care Bears and SpongeBob and all these different divisions or entities that oversaw those divisions. We had a pet division. We had a noodle division that made fun noodle for swimming pools. I've seen too many things where money went to wrong places, and I'm not going to allow that to happen. I will, if you invest in Iconic, your money's safe. I'm going to watch it. I will watch it, and no one else will. So no one else will have access to it. Although I will say that Abi and Kento both are on the checking account as additional signers. God forbid I get pulled out of a Boeing plane or something like that. Sorry, Riff's laughing back there. Moving on. I had actually multiple questions on this, which I thought was funny, asking why my signature on my email doesn't say CEO on it all the time. I'm just not a big guy like that. I just don't have anything to prove. I don't necessarily worry about titles. My father used to say, titles are for books. Just build a company, and that's what I'm doing. So if you're looking for somebody that wants to sit there and put a big CEO on their shirt, you probably shouldn't invest in us, because I'm a bit more casual than that. This is my idea of dressing up. If it doesn't say Iconic on it, it's probably not in my closet, and I'm not a big suit and tie kind of guy, so I'll move on from that. Iconic East keeps coming up. Okay, now I knew this was going to come up, and I have no issue being open about it and transparent. Iconic East is a property I could not pass up personally. My wife and I had done well on another property we had in Rhode Island. We took that, bought a rather large one. I had every intention of buying a building for Iconic or leasing a building for Iconic. The problem is, Iconic to date has already had 5 hangars and a building on Lincoln Avenue. I do not want to get tied to a lease and only to find out that the building's too small or in the wrong location. I don't want to add to overhead. I don't want to do any of those things. So what we decided to do when this property came available, which was not even for sale at the time, is we said, hey, let's combine the two. Let's have the house of our dreams and a beautiful location, and you can do, my wife says, you can give a portion of that to Iconic. It's got a 3,000 square foot basement thereabouts with 8-foot ceilings. The floor is getting all coated on the 29th of this month with that cool epoxy stuff. The garage is about 3.5 bays wide, if not longer. And so that's getting dedicated to Iconic. It's on 1.3 acres, so we can have cool events there. I envision this thing where you're an investor, or you're a shareholder, or you're a member, or you're just a fan, and we do cool stuff. We're gonna do bike shows there a couple times a year. We launch new stuff. Maybe, ideally, hopefully down the road, we get someone like Moto Guzzi or something to launch a motorcycle there, where press can stay in the property, and we can do events and things like that. We'll do bike shows on the big, huge lot. We'll have rental bikes. And, you know, I've said this a few times on posts before. You go to a track day, and the last thing you want to do is take your spouse with you and have them be miserable in the middle of the desert, at least in California anyway. In this scenario, you take your family with you, and they use the kayaks, and they use the private beach, and we go out for a ride. And if you want to spend a day, we'll fly Steve out. Steve will do little clinics and show you how to do your own carbs and the thing. And maybe Abby and I will be in the background watching, having a beer. It's a whole live iconic lifestyle thing. And quite honestly, a property like that doesn't really make sense if we don't share it, because I don't need something that big personally. So anyway, more on that later. The most important thing on the investment side is that is not going to burden the company. Iconic is not paying rent or paying any of those things, not until I can prove that there's some revenue to be found there. Iconic is paying for the equipment. So lifts, the lift to get bikes down to the basement, and compressors, things like that, that will fall on. The rental fleet that will be over there, that will be on the company's books. But ultimately, the building itself, the structure itself, the property itself is a personal asset and does not fall on the books. Last couple questions really quick, and I'll wrap this up, is Iconic UK and Japan, how does that affect our G&A, if you will? It doesn't. That's the beauty about the whole thing. So the situation with UEJ and Simon in particular is that he supplies us with a building in the UK. That building is already closed escrow. He bought it. We get to use that building and store bikes there and all that sort of thing. And if we store stuff there for maybe an Isle of Man event or something like that, then he'll charge us a little bit, you know, a cost basis. He has to supply us with bikes from Japan. He needs to also give us a large piece of the building in Japan, which he has, 30,000 square feet. And with that, we just share the upside. It's not always upside. Sometimes we don't make money on these bikes, and sometimes they break even. But Simon buys these bikes, sources these bikes, and we fix them up, and then we sell them, and then we split what's left. And then sometimes there's nothing. The beauty about it as a consumer is there's no agency or sourcing fees anymore. I don't have to pay someone to find me a bike, or we don't have to pay someone to find a bike, mark it up, pay markup to get it here, pay markup to have it fixed, and then sell it. Because by then you're taking a reasonably priced bike and making it unaffordable. We are just working on stacking dimes, if you will. I use that term a lot. So we're stacking a lot of dimes. Last, most certainly not least, I just want to say that my wife and I have made a decision that we are going to dedicate a lot of time to being here in the United States. I'm sorry to say we are not going to be able to make our Isle of Man trip this year. I want to be here for these new entities to launch. My wife and I take a personal trip every year to Hawaii since we've been married for the last 7 or so years, and we're not going to do that. We're going to spend our time here. We're going to spend our time in Rhode Island, maybe a couple trips as needed to the UK to see the new facility, the new building, maybe see Simon in Japan, our sourcing guy over there, things like that. But ultimately, we're going to be here this year. We're going to put in every bit of the hours. We had a bit of a struggle last year with a strike with our other company, a prop house. So she needs to work on that a whole bunch to make sure that stays going. Pinnacle Tech has been in business for a little over 20 years, and we're gonna make sure it stays for another 20 years. So she's gonna focus on that. I will spend a little time helping her, and I will spend every bit of time here at Iconic growing this, thanks to your support. And again, I know I sound like a broken record here, but I can't even thank you enough for this support. It's been phenomenal. And I will get back to every single one of your emails and texts through this weekend. Oh, last. Trackhouse tonight. Can't wait. MotoGP in America, having a MotoGP team in America. Oh my God, what a dream. Thank you, Riff. That's all I got.